The spirit of grace, welcoming the richness available. I have a little picture here of a girl about 3 years old, maybe, with some dessert dripping down her chin. And here's the caption I give to it. Only if you are innocent, humble, and curious, like a child, can you receive the fullness of the kingdom and its blessings. But please wear a bib. The food is for your mouth, not your clothing. My cup runneth over. It has a new meaning when you're like, when you're 2 years old and you're like, no, I don't need my sippy cup. I can handle the regular big people cup. And then they, occasionally they spill it down their chin or down the couch or down the back seat of the car while you're driving. That's for people who have their kids riding with open containers. So, if you've been resisting the available richness of life, just stop resisting it. Stop any worrying, condemning, resenting, and the shaming that underlies them. After all, has agonizing ever brought anyone relief? Like, has worry ever, changed the number of hairs on your head other than to cause you to lose them or to have them go gray? It doesn't, support hair growth to worry or to agonize, for those of you who are interested in hair growth. So, does it stop struggling to struggle to stop struggling? Or does struggling to stop struggling just perpetuate struggling? That's just the activity of struggling. I remember it was years ago that I recognized the irony of struggling to stop struggling, at least 10 years ago. This particular thing I'm reading, it's mostly from about 2 years ago, February 2010. And obviously, if you're reading along on my blog, you can see that I'm making quite a few ad-lib comments. But I'll return now to what I had written a couple years ago. Remember, especially if you notice any judging or condemning or accusing going on, God forgives those who forgive. In fact, God forgives those who accuse and those who condemn and those who judge because they can forgive. And upon forgiving, God forgives those who forgive. This is like a law of karma or law of the universe, and it's actually a comment on neurology. You may not have heard it presented this way before, but consider that when I cease blaming and shaming others, then it sets up a different process for how I interact with my own past and my own possible future as far as agonizing about, will I do the right thing or what? People sometimes use the term intuition and spontaneous, but those kind of terms aren't needed. If there isn't the operation of condemning and shaming going on, and there's nothing wrong with those operations if they are going on, but if they are not going on, then that's it. It's just a clean slate. It's open, like that innocent, humble child of 2 years old or 6 months old or whatever. They don't have a bunch of bias about trying to hide their past and solve the future and so on. Nothing wrong with shaming and judging and condemning and accusing, but there's also nothing wrong with forgiving. And God forgives those who forgive. It's an inherent thing. God, or you could say the unconscious, forgives those who forgive. And if there is a conscious shaming or blaming going on, there's always an unconscious activity going along with that. So, further, God blesses those who bless any that curse them. So if Bob curses Jan and then Jan blesses Bob even though Bob has cursed Jan, that's not just her forgiving him or the absence of ill will. There could actually be goodwill. Now, this isn't like somebody's supposed to do this. This isn't what you should do. It's just a possibility. Those who bless others are blessed by God. What does that mean? Well, that's something for you to consider if you'd like. God blesses those who bless any that curse them. It's a strange model that ancient spiritual teachers and modern spiritual teachers have repeated for quite a while. God blesses those who bless any that curse them. Have you received the message yet? Have you got the message yet? I did not come to judge the world. Judging of the world may happen. That's just not why I came. All right. Either you are grateful, receiving in the fullness of the abundance available, or you're something other than grateful. That's it, right? And there could be degrees of gratitude, sure. But isn't it natural to be grateful only after a fortunate development? I mean, gratitude, normally we think of it as something that happens after something we value, right? Well, actually, to God, developments are neither fortunate nor unfortunate inherently. What is fortunate for one person may be unfortunate for another person, or even, in fact, the same person. What is fortunate from one perspective at one time may be unfortunate from another perspective. Have you received this message yet? Hindsight is 20/20. So what seems to be good or favorable or produces optimism and euphoria and so on, enthusiasm, that doesn't necessarily produce a lasting value and lasting gratitude. So gratitude, I'm not talking about gratitude for a particular thing or a particular set of things or a pattern that's the good stuff and I'm grateful for that good stuff. I'm talking about gratitude here like grace, like a spirit of grace, a way of relating to life. Of course, with some developments, people may initially resist those developments. Again, that's totally natural, right? People may deny the developments and say, that's not happening. I don't want it to be happening, and it's not happening, and I sure hope not. And people may ignore certain developments. People may judge certain developments, complain about them, worry about them, condemn them, resent them, blame, and even shame. Some may even curse God for allowing such a horrible development. In other words, such a development that scares them, basically, right? Note that people might say, oh, God damn it, not that. And that is another way of saying, God damn me. Which is another way of saying, damn you, God. You've betrayed my preferences. Again, I hate this, and I hate you, and I hate my life. Wah! Wah! So, newsflash. Life is your life, and your life is you. There's no, here's me over here, and then my life over there, and then life way over there. These are like concentric overlapping things. Life is your life, and your life is you. You're not separate from it. You're not isolated from it. You're not alienated from it. We might talk like I'm alienated from this person, and I was born in 1971 and they died in 1956, and okay, fine, but I'm not isolated from life. That's just ridiculous. I am an activity of life. So be grateful for your life. This is one possibility. Be grateful for your life. Consider this as an alternative. Be grateful for your life. Not for particular things in your life, but be grateful for your life. Not as an effect of some temporary recent development, but as a consistent way of relating to life. Do not judge against your world, or be wary of judging against your world and condemning it, and judging against your life, criticizing it, condemning it, judging against yourself, criticizing it, condemning it, judging against your God, criticizing, condemning God. Commit to faithfully finding the blessing available. Then receive it by giving it. If you are interested in these kind of ideas, then consider them. Explore them. Think about them, write about them, talk about them, so on. We're in the midst, whether you're interested in those ideas or not, this is a fact. We're in the midst of an immense transfer of material wealth. In fact, there's really never been a time that wasn't going on, but in the U.S. and parts of Europe and certain other places right now, there really is a historically unusual transfer of material wealth. So, of course, ownership and valuations of material wealth are always shifting. Ownership is always shifting, and the valuations of any particular item are always shifting. It might go up 2% or 20% or down 45% in a certain period of time, right? Back and forth and up and down, and it's flat for a while, and it depends. And it's a $200,000 house, but these people are only offering me $120,000. What's the deal with that? Well, that means it's a $120,000 house. So ownership and valuations are always shifting. Ownership's always shifting from one party to another, and the bank owns this percentage and the borrower owns that percentage. It's always shifting, right? However, if you did not already know that an unprecedented transfer is underway, the developments of the last few years, again, I wrote this in 2010, right? So the last few years prior to that, the developments of the last few years may have alerted you to the fact that there's an unprecedented transfer of material wealth underway. If you've been resisting these developments or condemning them or neglecting them or even campaigning for someone else to fix them and so on, I got to elect that new party or support that new candidate on it. That's fine. It's totally reasonable and normal and very popular response or reaction. But if you've been resisting those developments, condemning them, neglecting them, trying to fix them, well, consider that an unprecedented transfer of wealth is underway, either way. And no matter who gets elected or what bill gets passed or what constitutional amendment gets passed or what country gets invaded or whatever, there's just those are all part of the shift that's happening, that there will be political volatility. The European Union may dissolve. The Soviet Union dissolved a couple decades ago. Those kind of things happen sometimes. New formations arise where 13 independent states all form together the United States of America, or the European Union, or the Soviet Union, or whatever. People, in groups, they form political alliances and jurisdictions and all that stuff. That's always happening. It's always shifting. The maps that are printed, like if you buy a globe and it has those political boundaries written, well, that ink on paper, it doesn't reflect the reality of what's happening. There can be illegal immigration going on. The boundary between ocean and land is an entirely different kind of reality than a political boundary. And political boundaries that have walls and soldiers with weapons and tanks and stuff like that, those are what hold a boundary or what break through a boundary and knock it over if it's anything there besides just an invisible imaginary line in the sand or in the sea or in the forest or whatever. So if you've been resisting those developments, either way, those economic shifts, financial shifts, either way, whether you've been resisting or not, or however much you've been resisting or how or whatever, any moment now, you're either resisting it or receiving it. But perhaps only one of the two. Or again, if it's relative, you could be resisting something or receiving it or somewhere in between, but you can't be fully resisting it and fully receiving it. That's not possible. To fully receive something, you have to cease resisting it, cease condemning it, even cease ignoring it. Not that you need to pay any particular attention to it, but if you resist it and condemn it, and criticize it, and blame it and shame it and all that stuff, blame other people for causing it. Oh, it's that party, it's that politician, it's that country, it's that species, it's the bugs, no, it's the birds, no, it's the trees, whatever. Well, that's not receiving it. That's not getting into the flow of it, participating in it. There's a shift underway. Resist it or receive it. Condemn it or accept it. Like somebody writes you a check and mails it to you. Accept it, open it, sign the back of it, and cash it. Okay? There's an immense transfer of wealth underway. People relate to this as terrifying. Well, it could involve some major adjustments in behavior, right? that's nothing really new. There's always been occasional major adjustments of behavior. So choose to receive the blessings of the developments emerging. Choose to be grateful as a way of relating to life. Choose to be receptive as a way of relating to life. Not that you should only be receptive or always be receptive, or that it's, you shouldn't be receptive to accusation and condemnation. No, be receptive to accusation and condemnation too. Those are going to come up sometimes. For other people, for you, whatever. It's that's part of life. So you're already participating in the shifting of values. You're already participating in the shifting of ownership, and the shifting of political systems and legal trends and all that stuff. But how open could you be to partnering with the developments emerging? And that could be the developments of global economics or regional economics, or the developments of physiology and science, or in your workplace or in your household, or if the weather changes, or some issue of managing your household or managing your finances, your health, your family. Just how open could you be to partnering with life, with the developments emerging as your life? How open could you be to partnering with your life? Like a child, be humble rather than judgmental and shaming and condemning and blaming and so on. Be innocent. Be curious. Curious? Yeah, curious. This way you receive the fullness of the blessings available. And please remember to wear a bib. The food is for your mouth, not for your clothing.